Hey everyone, I'm Livewire, or if you know me from Instagram, Squiggly McPickens. I'm going to be showing you my measurement methods and how to size your whip to your body's proportions. This is a two-part video series. The first part on measuring and sizing, and part 2 is on cutting. So why size your whip to your body's proportions? Even if you don't have a good sense of use with your whip yet, tailoring your whip to be the length of your arm's natural reach can make it more comfortable to dance. This length is specific to you and helps you with ease of movement, visual aesthetic, and is great for doing a variety of different moves and different flow styles. Maybe you have a smaller frame and find the 6-foot standard to be too long, finding a better fit to prevent overlapping and getting caught when the whip is close to your body. We'll be determining 2 grip points, one on the handle and one on the fibers stretched across your wingspan. You're going to need something to write on and something to write with to jot down your measurements. Clear tape or Scotch tape is ideal because it doesn't leave behind any sticky residue. If you use other tapes and you find the sticky residue, then you can take it off with rubbing alcohol, but try to avoid this type of tape. A pair of scissors to cut your tape off with, and something long to measure with. A measuring tape is great because you can lock it, and if you're doing this solo, that comes in handy. And a ruler is handy to have as well, though you could do it with one or both. If you don't have a measuring tape handy and you only have a ruler, a great way to do a long measurement is take something long like a string, line it up against your measurement, bring that over to your ruler and lay it out. That will tell you how long it was. Before you start, put out a couple pieces of tape on a surface nearby so you can grab them easily with one hand. Let's take a look at your handle grip point. Hold your handle where you normally would, and the natural place where your hand falls. Mark that off with tape. Now moving from your handle grip point, pull it straight across your wingspan from arm to arm, holding the fibers between your forefinger and your thumb of your other hand. Make sure it's nice and taut. And then mark that off with tape. That's your fiber grip point. To measure your whip, lie it down flat and straight on the floor. You can add tape to keep it from moving around, and line up your measuring device up against it. For measurement 1, measure from the handle grip point, where you put the tape on the handle, to the end of the fibers. Then write that down. For measurement 2, again, measure from the handle grip point, but this time to the fiber grip point, where you had the tape on the fibers. Now write that down. It's important we discuss buffer. Adding length to your standard whip measurement, or measurement that you're working with, is very important for 2 reasons. 1, because it gives your hand sufficient enough space to grip the fibers and hold your fiber grip point. And 2, because your fibers are breakable. If they're hit off of hard surfaces, they can sustain damage and cracks, where they can shear off and shorten over time. Avoid hitting your fibers off of hard surfaces to ensure that they last longer. Always add buffer to any measurement that you're working with. Add 12 inches of extra length to a newer whip. If you're working with an older, well-used fiber head that has some fiber thinning and more variation in length, add more than 12 inches. Let's find out our final calculations. Take measurement 2, which was from the handle grip point, measured to the fiber grip point, and add your buffer, 12 inches or more if you're working with an older fiber head. That will give you your standard whip measurement. Take measurement 1, where you measured from the handle grip point to the end of the fibers, and subtract the standard whip measurement. That will give you how much to remove. Just so you have a better sense of what this looks like, here's my measurements. For measurement 1, I had 80 inches. Measurement 2, 58 inches. Take measurement 2 and add your buffer of 12 inches, so I ended up with 70 inches. Measurement 1, which was at 80 inches, subtract the standard width measurement, which was 70 inches. That will give me 10 inches, and that's how much I'm cutting off. So there's 3 potential areas for adjustment. These are things you might want to consider when you're spending a significant time with your whip and discovering you have a particular style or environment that you spend the majority of your time with. First thing you might want to consider is what kind of moves will you be primarily doing. Think about your style of whip dance. For outward play, where your whip is traveling away from your body, you might want a longer whip for a more dramatic effect. A longer whip is also well suited for body wrapping, lacing, and body tracing, where your whip is traveling on or around your body and making contact with it. A shorter whip is well suited for quick movements, tech, and making tight graphic shapes. Those are just some examples. Secondly, you might wish to consider your standard dancing environment, or where will you be spending most of your time with your whip. In smaller spaces, somewhere tight to the walls, or in close quarters to other people, a short whip might be well suited for that type of environment, as it allows for a lot of control. Whereas in a larger space with more freedom of movement, using a longer whip might be ideal. These considerations are of course meant to be guidelines, not absolute rules. You might find yourself in a situation with mixed factors where the alternate works best for you. For example, if you find yourself in a tight area but wanted to do close body work, then a long whip would be just fine. Use your discretion and keep these points in mind when determining your ideal length. Specific prop style. Many prop styles can be meshed with your whip. If you plan on meshing another prop style with your whip, have a sense of what that prop's measurements are beforehand. Many props have a standardized measurement system to size them to your body's proportions. Having a sense of that particular prop's length will give you an idea of where you'll want to start. I'll show you 2 measurement examples of different props commonly fused with light whip. To measure poi, measure from the inside of your shoulder to your top knuckle. To size rope dart, take it from your anchor hand, stretched across your wingspan to your other hand, and then down touching the floor. The point isn't to measure your whip exactly to another prop, but to have an understanding of what that prop's length is to your body and why, so you can apply that to the sizing of your whip. To apply that to the 2 prop examples shown, when sizing to poi style, you would want your whip length to be probably no less than the length of one of your arms. For rope dart, you likely want your whip length to be no less than the span of both of your arms. These examples are meant to be approximate and are meant as a guide for specific prop sizing. The types of adjustment that you make for your particular style of flow come from simply working repeatedly with your whip and knowing your own style. However, if you don't have a good sense of your typical moves, prop style, or environment for whipping yet, I would suggest that using the standard body size measurement might be a good starting place. As I said before, this is only part 1 of a 2-part video tutorial. So now that you have the standardized whip measurement and considered any adjustments to that you might want to make for primary dance or prop style, environment, or dance space, check out the next video. I'll be showing you how I cut down my fibers and giving you some tips on how to do so without losing their layering. Hit like, subscribe if you want to stay up to date, and if you have any questions for me, just leave one in the comments. Thanks so much for watching.